Hey everyone, welcome to the Optimism Show. Today we have Ivan from Xocolatl Finance. Ivan, it's a pleasure having you here today.
Thank you, Chris. Pleasure to be here after some bumps on the road.
Ivan, can you tell, so right now you're building really a stable coin based on the Mexican economy and on the Mexican peso. I'd love to hear before we get into the nitty-gritty of things, can you tell us a bit about yourself, some past projects you worked on, some learnings you had there, and what are the things you learned there that you're implementing in this project to make it really a success?
Yeah, I've had a lot of failure in my life, so I can do go along a lot of directions. But I I'm originally from Hermosillo, Mexico, and came to Hamburg, where it's my base already to study in logistics, a master's in logistics. So my background is not really technology or smart contracts, security, anything like that. It's logistics, operations, e-commerce. And as I graduated from a master's, I saw software was eating the world. So I jumped into it as a product manager. I started my own startup in the logistics industry and kept working as a product manager. After that, um, didn't really work out, but opened my eyes to how to build products, how it was the ABC of it, and that's my day job, product manager. But it's been already 3-4 years since I dipped my toes in Web3. I've worked with projects as a freelancer, like Fuji. It was a kind of like a loan aggregator. That also didn't work out. Startups don't work out all the time. But like I said, it all has been building up to where I am right now in terms of learnings. I mean, building a product, building a startup is not cheap. That's kind of like what one of my main learnings, right? Like you need to really focus on what is impactful, what's going to bring revenue to get you going, um, and not waste money on, Google Ads and stuff like that if that's not what you need. And as I was dipping my toe in Web3, being Web2 in the day, Web3 in the night, I realized that there was no stablecoin that a builder in Mexico could leverage and build a DeFi protocol. And I was working with my good friend and co-founder Daigaro, which kind of was on the same wagon as I was. And we just started tinkering with the smart contract with the idea. And that's where we came together and said, okay, we have to deploy a stablecoin that's community driven and owned. So there's a budding ecosystem, and it's not just like a company having a stablecoin for their own purposes, something that is truly open source. Um, we came up, I mean, we were going to do a stablecoin, a token, so we might as well give it a nice story. That's where we came up with Xocolatl, because the Aztecs and the Mayans back in the day used cacao beans as currency in their day to day. So we kind of reminisce about that nice story, and we called Xocolatl our stablecoin. And since then, we've been building it on our as a side project, never really full time, but we've been picking up steam more and more these past couple months, where we now are almost full time in it, and we really got something exciting going on.
Yeah, it definitely is quite an exciting project, especially in the stablecoin economy. And I'd love to hear when it comes because right now most of the space, in fact, most of the world is used to having stable coins like USDT, USDC. the Euro stable coin, there are some Swiss franc stable coins, but how are you really like, how is a token like Xocolatl really benefiting the Mexican builders? And what are the perks and the benefits of using a coin like Xocolatl, for example, for someone that is in Mexico compared to using USDT?
Yeah. So the the success and the power that the current stable coins have on the market, meaning USDT and USDC mainly, but there's many other USD stable coins. The success that they had, to me, marks a signal that they work. Stable coins work. People want to be on chain, denominated in dollars, because that's what most of the global economy denominates itself in. But as a Mexican, I denominate myself in pesos. Or if you are in Europe, you denominate yourself in euro. You cannot escape your local currency. And many people do want to have that option to do DeFi, to like leverage yourself and do things with these new money Legos and these new tools that we have available, but in your own currency. So that's what we're tackling. Like, we put out Xocolatl as an open source project. It's an ERC20 token that you can plug into your protocol, into your application, and use right away. And that's what we've seen, without any VC backing, without any big name backing us, just out of hackathons and people building in the community. People are starting to at least experiment with Xocolatl to pay bills. There's a nice website called Chippy Pay, also coming from grassroots builders, that allows you to pay for electricity bill, or to top up your cell phone using Shock, or to buy a movie ticket or a gift card. And that's what we wanted to see. It's another confirmation to keep building little by little, because that's what we want to enable all Mexicans, or people that want to denominate themselves in pesos, to use DeFi, to be decentralized, to have a token that you can use on chain however you want, without asking permission from anyone. That's our main goal in a nutshell.
Yeah, but and that's an excellent goal in the end. Like as you said, like a lot of people in specific regions would just like to use their own native currency to play with these Legos like DeFi and whatever there is. And I'm really curious, before we move on to the next topic, you said like uh so far you've been working part-time and going full-time on the project, and the community has been building a lot, but you haven't been VC backed up until this point. I'm really curious, how did you manage to navigate those waters? Because building a product can be quite expensive, and you really navigated with the community. Like how did you manage to do that? And what are some key things that you noticed along the way that are quite that helped the project maybe become even more successful?
Yeah. Um, I think that I come back to that point of having my failures teach me how to build nowadays, like how to build a product, focusing really on building and not spending money. We really, so it starts with the idea, then we have the skill to build that idea, meaning Daigaro specifically, he's a aerospace engineer, he's a smart contract with, he sets up the the smart contract infrastructure, but
Mhm.
that's just the beginning. Then it's a front end. Then it's kind of like that marketing and distribution phase, and kind of forming a DAO and aligning everyone in there. That doesn't cost money. That costs time. And I mean, that is even more valuable to us, because we're not going to spend our own money on an experiment just to get to a place where it's not really clear how it's going to develop down the line. That's why we're doing small experiments that kind of confirm our hypothesis, meaning Mexicans need a stable coin to build DeFi protocols. It's right now it seems like we are confirming that thesis and there is traction. Um, and I think once we get to a point where everyone realizes that value of having that stable coin in the system and doing good things for builders and everyday users, normies as we would call them, then I think the liquidity is going to back us up, and because there's a activity, there's a flow of there's an exchange of value from hand to hand. That's what we want to really demonstrate to the community, and then get money or liquidity, not for us to pay ourselves, but to keep growing the pool and allowing more use cases in the local economy. So you cannot tokenize an economy like Mexican economy without a stable coin. It's not like you're just going to go and have your house's deed tokenized and just have it on chain just because it's fun. No, you right now probably going to tokenize and denominate it in USD, but that's what we're talking about. Like we want to allow people to tokenize real world assets denominated in Mexican pesos using this stablecoin. And it's messy, but we are getting there. And right now we are in that distribution phase where we are aligning everyone, bringing everyone that's interested together, kind of having that DAO mentality of on-chain activity, voting, alignment. And everyone can, first of all, anyone can just grab the contracts and use them, but everyone can also go and check out our proposals and voting, treasury, like they can get involved at any time, however they like. And yeah, that's what I'm pushing for. That's why I'm here to kind of make the case for. Hopefully, it's understandable. So if I'm not very clear, we can come back or go forward. Just let me know, Chris.
No, absolutely, and thank you for sharing that. One other point, as you, especially like as a coin like this supports local builders in Mexico. I'd like to ask you, like, because some, like right now there have been some talks about the growing stable coin economy. I'd like to hear your thoughts on how do you see that evolving, maybe in the coming months or coming years, like the stable coin economy in general, and what do you expect in that regard in general? Like, what are your thoughts?
I expect a lot more activity, liquidity, and movement in all Latin America um, in regards to stablecoins. The thing is, there has been already quite a lot of experiments of Mexican peg stablecoins, but none it's open source as it is. It's there's always that either I don't want to say VC purpose or like it's more like a corporate, a corporate objective other than being open source and helping like the DeFi ecosystem bootstrap itself and grow. There's uh, there's been so Tether, the biggest USD stablecoin issuer, minted a stablecoin, the MXNT, but they minted like 20 million pesos in mainnet, and it just stayed there. So it didn't like really move. It didn't really, do anything. So that's not going to equate to onboarding the next billion users like we're all kind of striving for. And there's been others like Jarvis, Mexican peso, and other Mexican pesos stablecoins, but they always have like their own agendas. And Shock is all about just leading the way in growing a DeFi ecosystem in Mexico, and not just being big whales having tokens there and saying they're on chain. It's more helping my grandma go into the supermarket and have tokens, and she doesn't even know that she's spending stable coins, but she's like buying her groceries. That's what we're striving for, like everyday use, um, grassroots building, and hopefully, yeah, this is it.
Oh, that sounds amazing, actually. But that's another critical point, like making it in a way that's not just corpo or just to attract VCs, but actually what is the use case of the project? Like, can the community contribute, and is the community contributing to actually making it a success, or is it just a front face? And I think personally, like a lot of people are fed up in crypto with that. Like there's a lot of builders that, like yourself, want to build something that truly makes a difference.
Yes.
Compared just raising and raising and raising, but that's where the story ends.
Yes, that I mean, it takes a lot of patience to really get there. And unfortunately, sometimes builders or teams run out of that patience before hitting pay dirt, or before really having an impactful use case. And that's I think why we have uh, shied away from raising money and like diving straight into raising money, because that brings metrics, milestones that might not be the best for that organic growth right now. I'm not saying that we're not ever going to raise any money or, take any money on board, but at this experimental phase, because there's no stablecoin in Mexico that you can really trustfully rely on to build a DeFi protocol, I think right now it's much more staying patient, seeing what takes off. Our community, our DAO. Right now, we've been really active in hackathons, so participating in the based hackathons, in the super hack um, optimism hackathon. We are mainly sticking to this EVM super chain hackathons because we think, first of all, that Ethereum mainnet is going to be the economic settlement chain, and all these L2s and super chains that are coming out of it. It's where really the everyday use case are going to take traction. So we we build DeFi protocols like an Aave fork, or on these last based hackathon, the Talent protocol were the sponsor. So we did some smart contracts, a protocol that would extend a line of credit to you in Shock based just on your reputation, so on your builder score. Um, so that's exciting. How are we going to make sure that everyone's pays us back? That's the main question. We have some ideas, but that's what we're doing: experimenting, see what takes off, see where the community and the liquidity takes us, and and the technical limitations are, and then tackle that.
Um, I'm gonna go back to a topic that you touched on previously about Mexico and LatAm in general. Uh, so you said like there's a lot of projects and experiments going on right now in general in LatAm, especially when it comes to stablecoins, and there's builders doing different things. What do you think, like from your perspective? are a lot of these projects maybe, or the builders, missing out on that might not be allowing them to have that might be holding them in place really? Like, what are they missing out on that these projects that are from Mexico or from LatAm are just stuck in place?
Ah, that's a good question. I don't really have um, a specific answer to that because it's such a nascent ecosystem that really we're building from the ground up. Um, I think even there there's venture capital and capital in general is missing in LATAM, and I'm talking from Web 2 startups to Web 3. Like it is very restricted on the opportunities that really get funded to experiment and get something innovated off the ground, and not just a VC copy from um, from San Francisco or New York, and that takes off. But I also think, and this is coming from a product management perspective, like always thinking how the user is going to solve a problem and what the UX needs to be to do that. I think teams need to really spend a lot of time or more time getting to know their user and convincing them about how it's not just about having tokens and using tokens and being on chain, but how to solve that problem. And I think right now it's much more about the hype of tokenizing for tokenization's sake and not finding the real use case. And I take that shot to me as well. So it's not a shot to everyone, right? Like this technology it's super exciting. It's, I mean, just the yesterday's news about Trump going into office put sales in our wind in our sails, and gives me the confidence to aim higher and experiment bigger and bolder, and because I know it's the time. But I think we have to leave the hype aside a little bit to get to where we want to be. And I think again, I take solace in the success that stablecoins, USD stablecoins are having right now, and protocols such as Compound and Aave and all the big ones have. I know there's a use for DeFi. That's why I want to find it with Shock, hopefully. But I just want to be there in the middle of the fray, building the DeFi ecosystem.
And when it comes to building the DeFi ecosystem, and especially as you said, like there's a lot of things going on. Like, what is your vision with Shock? Maybe in the like, what are you working on right now, and what is your vision in the coming months to a year, especially as the market is seemingly changing at this moment?
Our goal is to tokenize the Mexican economy. That's a big ask. So breaking it into steps is, first of all, um, get more recognition or get more visibility in the ecosystems that we're building. Base ecosystem, I I feel 200% convinced that that's going to blow up even more next year. Optimism and the super chain ecosystem, like kind of get the word out that Shock is the stablecoin denominated in pesos, Mexican pesos, to build. So we're the go-to stablecoin that everyone uses and builds with. From there is getting liquidity, so so these use cases can be realized. We've faced that already, that people do want to experiment tokenizing real world assets like an apartment or like a car, stuff like that. But there's not enough liquidity, and they would lose a lot of the value in swapping and in slippage and all that. So that's in our priority, top 5, top 3 for sure, getting more liquidity. in there, and then adding as many people, builders, entrepreneurs as possible into the DAO, so it feels like Mexicans have a stable coins owned by Mexicans, and all the profit that goes into the treasury can be reinvested, sorry, either in initiatives in business that have to do with stablecoin or in DAO needs for hiring new developers to explore a new frontier. But definitely adding more people, which would then add more trust to our project, which would then add more liquidity, and so on and on. A flywheel effect. Um, that's what I'm focused on right now.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Like you're, I love how you're focused more on the entire picture. Like it's yes, it's a stable coin, but then you also have the DAO. You also get to get people hyped up and get people working on a project that will benefit eventually everyone. Because otherwise, if it's a solo project, as you said, like some like I think you said USDT minted the MXNT, but there was not much distribution or acceptance of that coin,
Yeah,
even though it had the liquidity and everything.
yeah. And it's also very overwhelming for one or two people to put the whole uh, Mexican DeFi ecosystem on their back and build it by themselves. So we need as many people as we can on board. And I actually see a DAO as an on-chain company, as an on-chain LLC. So hopefully you know, this get people riled up and ready to build with us, to get more profit, to keep building. And yeah, as you say, I am focused on having a flywheel effect with the whole Mexican economy if I can, with as many people as join as I can. But if it doesn't work out, then it's okay. I didn't invest my whole savings in it, and it's going to be sad because I put a lot of effort into it. But I'm hoping that there's going to be another thing that replaces it that has much more momentum, that can build that off the ground and have a common DeFi ecosystem built from it. I think this is an experiment. This is the first experiment. There's also a lot of tinkering that we can do with the contracts to get more yield, or to get that's what this is all about. These money Legos. It's all about. Um, I I think Shock might not look like it does today in 1 year. It might look different, but that's okay. I'm ready to for that, and that's what I'm trying to get the word out today. Like, hey, help me build this up so Mexico can have a DeFi ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an excellent point, as you said. Like it's building for the mission, not just building for the project, but it's more like, okay, let's go for the bigger mission and vision and let's build that together. One other question, and what actually my last question for now that I have for you is, so right now you're building in Mexico. What is some advice? Let's say there's a lot of countries around the world that would be a fit also to have their own DeFi ecosystem. What is your advice to builders in those countries to consider when they're starting to build stable coin, or when they're already building a stable coin?
Well, I don't like to see myself as an expert because I'm not. I'm just a regular Joe. I get caught up in the hype sometimes, and I'm there with everyone, kind of uh, building as I go along. But my advice would be to focus on that specific use case that will get traction, and pull the cord slowly, not get not get too caught up on raising money or on DAO politics or making everything on chain. Like being a on chain maximalist, or actually don't be a maximalist overall for anything, even for Ether. I'm a big fan, but just being open to other points of view that would disprove you sometimes. It's not pleasant, but that I think is where the real growth happens. And that is where you can pull more cord and like get more into what is going to make the product or the project successful down the line.
Yeah, that's an excellent point to actually to wrap up. It's practically like consider the fact that what you're focusing on so much might not really be the best way of doing it. Like there's a lot of other ideas and a lot of options out there. And even though it might hurt sometimes, like it is worth to consider those options because they might open a whole new perspective of what you're building.
Yes. Yes.
Ivan, thank you for joining us on the Optimism Show.
Thank you, Chris. Have a good one.
You as well.